Joining me now is trial consultant Dave Zehner. Now, folks are already stunned by this acquittal, and now they learn that Casey Anthony will walk out of jail next week despite being convicted and sentenced to the maximum for lying to police. So how does this happen?
Well, when someone is held without bail for this long, they accumulate time towards whatever sentence they receive. Now, in this case, when the prosecution is charging murder counts, that usually doesn't come into play. But because she was convicted of such minor offenses, she's already served all the time she could possibly serve, and that's why she'll be released.
And in this case, I mean, I think they even have special rules in Florida, don't they, where you not just time served, but then good behavior on top of that as well?
Correct. I mean, no matter what you possibly could have done, she's way over the time she could have gotten for what she was convicted of.
And this could happen anywhere, right? For the most part, this could happen here. Most jurisdictions operate similarly?
Exactly. And especially for a major felony case, it takes a long time to get the trial together. Mm-hmm. And so the defendants often spend lots of time without bail and have accumulated quite a bit of time towards whatever sentence they do receive.
Now, the judge made the point here, as we heard in that soundbite, of saying that this is the maximum sentence of 1 year for each crime, and they will serve consecutively, which is one after the other, instead of at the same time concurrently, which he could have done as well.
Correct.
Clearly, do you believe he was trying to send a message here in some kind of way?
I think what he was trying to say is these were serious charges that she was convicted of, and they carry a serious penalty. However, I think, as you saw the people outside the courthouse, I don't think that's going to send a message to them at all.
No, I don't think. Does he have any other discretion? I mean, these were the charges, but does a judge have any other discretion here?
Judges don't have any discretion to sentence people to more than they have been convicted for. So no matter what his personal views, he has to go by what the jury decides.
Mm-hmm. Now, you do trial consulting, so I know some of the jury members are starting to talk now, and because people still are having trouble understanding how this woman who didn't even report her child missing for 31 days could possibly have been found not guilty when, this child is gone. But what are the jurors what are you gleaning from what the jurors are saying now?
What the jurors are saying is that they had to follow the evidence of the case and the law of the case. And it wasn't their job to determine whether or not Casey Anthony was innocent. It was their job to see if the prosecution proved their case. And both the jurors who were interviewed today talked especially about how the prosecution did not meet its burden of proof, especially in terms of what caused Kaylee's death. Without knowing the cause of death, it's very hard to get a conviction in a murder case. The jurors are very reluctant to find someone guilty and possibly be sentenced to death. I believe one of the jurors talked about being sick to her stomach about the possibility of the death sentence when they were unsure. And it's very difficult for jurors to make that leap unless there is really strong evidence to support it.
Well, honestly, that's a little bit reassuring. I mean, I'd hate to think that, what if it was completely circumstantial and someone didn't do it, even though they may have looked like they did it. Yeah. Now, should she have even been charged? Should they have worked harder on trying to make more of a case?
Well, what you're going to hear a lot of criticism of is that they charged too much. They wanted to make this a death penalty case. They wanted it to be a showcase conviction. What the jurors were saying is they struggled with the charge of manslaughter because they didn't know the cause of death, but they thought that she might have been involved. That would have been much easier. And once the prosecution raised the bar so high, all these lesser charges kind of fell away because the jurors were expecting them to be able to prove that there was a felony murder and it was done with especially heinous circumstances. And they didn't feel that the government met its burden on that higher charge, and it made considering the lesser charges much harder for them.
So they maybe should have gone for manslaughter to begin with.
It would have made more sense to be able to charge what you can prove. It's kind of a saying for what prosecutors do.
All right. Thank you, Dave. That helps put it all in perspective for us.
Great. Thank you very much.